welcome to Salesforce Master, yet another interview with one of my fellow colleagues in the Salesforce ecosystem. Nancy is here with us. Hi, Nancy, welcome.
Hi, Fatih. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Today we wanted to touch on a topic that is very important and crucial in a Salesforce journey, and that's one of the clicked courses or the experiences that they offer. And I know that you've been through them on numerous times. So that's why I wanted to talk about those today. But let's just start with you and tell us about yourself, what you do, and how's your days going. So tell us about that.
Sure. My name is Nancy Windham. I am new to the Salesforce ecosystem in that I am currently trying to find a position in it. I'm transitioning out of a career that has a pretty broad background, everything from auto finance to consulting with small businesses to building out company infrastructures is really how I got into the Salesforce ecosystem in kind of a roundabout way. I found myself in a position over and over again where I took over the administration of the IT department in an operational capacity, mostly just to get things working and finding solutions that worked for my company and my team, sometimes on a very tight budget, sometimes a little bit more budget, but also keeping in mind the current needs of that company or that organization or that individual in the case of helping some entrepreneurs set up processes for themselves, really trying to find solutions that fit what they needed and that they could keep up if I wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And so I have had an on-again, off-again relationship with Salesforce for a very long time. I've looked at it many times. I've utilized it a couple of times, and sometimes it wasn't the best alternative for that particular company that time because of budget or growth or staffing issues. And so I've worked with several different types of CRMs. I've worked with Google Workspace, putting together infrastructure and processes in place. And about a year and a half ago now, I really wanted to take a minute to think about where I wanted to go next and what I wanted to do, because I was finding myself being a very good handyman in that I could do a lot of things, had a lot of breadth of knowledge. I didn't have any specializations. And I really felt like I wanted to dive back into that and find a place where I could build my skills and get back into an environment that I was looking for that was more collaborative, where I was in a position where I was working with a team and had resources and support. And like I said, I've always been looking at Salesforce and working with it. The most recent position I had, I was implementing it for our company. And I thought, I really like this. I like what it can do. I know how flexible it is. And so I took a little bit of time off to really kind of think about that and decide, is this where I wanted to go? And I came out of it thinking, yeah, this is really a direction I wanted to really delve into, get some certifications. And so last summer, I got my administration certification, and I was looking around. We were selling our house, so I took a little bit of a break. But then when I got back into it, I was looking around, how can I get more experience? How can I get more training? How can I learn the nomenclature, transitioning into a Salesforce career after not being specifically in Salesforce, and realizing that a lot of the work I was doing besides administrative was really a business analyst role, and learning the terms that everybody's using, what are the tools everybody's using, and how can I take all of that past experience and transition that into a new career. And I stumbled across Clicked. It was just, I was looking around like, what can I do? And I jumped into it. I found it, and the next morning they had a challenge. And so Click does two things. Well, it does more than two things, but
before we go into that, yeah. I wanted to ask you about how, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, but I just wanted to find out what attracted you to Salesforce. How did that journey begin? And was it because of the experiences that you had before that you wanted to switch to something that's much better, gives you more options, or was that completely a total career change? How did you like start with Salesforce in the beginning?
When I first saw Salesforce, and this is years ago, it was referenced to me from my sister actually, and she said, "You might want to check this out." And I did, and at the time I had something else going on, but that was my first introduction. And the first opportunity I had as a consultant for some small businesses is I looked at that. I looked at that as an option. Salesforce was just getting started. Zoho was a really big competitor, and it was a very small team. It was like 3 people. And so it wasn't a big project, and we didn't really have the bandwidth to make it a big integration. And so I always had it in the back of my mind. And I've watched Salesforce growing. And what really, really kind of settled it for me as to where I wanted to go, talking with people in the industry and knowing the capabilities that Salesforce had compared to other things that I was working on, the flexibility, the ability to really hone in on it for different business needs, being able to create your products, being able to create different pages and objects, and really understanding how to tailor that particular program to whatever those companies' needs are or that individual's needs are that are trying to get things set up, really being able to do that and not to be, well, it should be able to do this. Let me go figure it out. Being able to say, I know it does this and this is how I can do it. And having that ability to be proactive in helping businesses and individuals be in a position where they can succeed rather than spending their time spinning their wheels. And so that really solidified it for me in a way. And also, I have had family in the Salesforce ecosystem, but the amount of outreach that I got from other people in the ecosystem, other learners who are just getting started, people who are established. I have never asked a question to somebody and not gotten at least a polite response in, hey, I'm not really sure I can help you with that, but here's somebody that's really good at it. And having been in several different industries that are not so welcoming, when I came into it, everybody was willing to help and very generous with sharing their knowledge. And I love the idea, and I love being a part of an ecosystem where people are focused on lifting each other up rather than trying to climb on top of them to get to the top themselves.
That's very well said. And you mentioned that you can actually customize the Salesforce according to whatever the company needs, and that's really like beneficial for the company, and it opens up many options as well. And as for the person who's going into the Salesforce ecosystem, it's kind of like a similar story because it's not like a field where you can become a manager and then just stay at that job for 30, 40 years, at the same job. But in the Salesforce ecosystem, you can actually, there are so many options that you can, put in your bag per se, and then just become, consultant, admin, developer, architect, or whatever you want to do. So there are so many options. So, and Clicked kind of, let's go into the Clicked topic here. Clicked kind of paves the way for you to find a career path or the right career path, and then just kind of like launches you in a way, I guess, to go in the right direction. So tell us about Clicked, what it is, and how'd you come up, how'd you came to be part of it, and what did it change for you, things like that.
Sure. Like I was saying earlier, I really stumbled across it because I was just looking for, how can I learn more? How can I understand more? And like you said, there's so many different paths that you can take in Salesforce, so many different certifications. And Clicked came along, and I happened to find it one evening, and the next day they were having a challenge. And so Clicked really kind of has 2 formats currently. that I'm aware of. One is they have an hour challenge, and it would be on a topic. And they open up the scenario the day before, gives you a scenario, and then you have some time to work on it or think about it. And then they have an hour webinar, and they have a host. Jeff Sample has been fantastic, just so positive and encouraging, and he's really the force behind Clicked. And Rachel Shumway, she's a new host. She does fantastic. I actually met her on my first sprint. She and I were a team together, and it was the two of us. And she was great to work with. Jeff's been great. And that format, they have the host, and then they have a coach. And they're bringing in Salesforce professionals that are working currently from all kinds of different companies. And the first one, I'm trying to remember what it was. I don't remember exactly what it was. Maybe it was data loader or something. And they would take a scenario and they have it formatted so they have like a 5-minute introduction, and there's 20 minutes where they talk with the coach about how they would do it, things to keep in mind. And then the last 40 minutes are really different participants coming on and saying, here's what I did. And their attitude at Clicked, which I think is fantastic, is it doesn't matter if you have a build or you have it written down on a piece of paper, or if you don't participate at all and you just kind of listen. Everybody's learning, and there's room to fail, which is so important because you really learn more from your mistakes than you do from getting it right the first time, I think. And so I just jumped in and said, okay, I'll do it. And it was a great experience. I learned something from it. And so I kept signing up for them. And then they had a sprint. I'm like, okay, well, what is this? And the sprints run about 3 weeks on average. And the first one I did was called a Salesforce admin and analyst sprint. And they took you through Mallory Donahue, Tony Gwynn. They were two of the coaches. I know there's another one, Vanessa Grant. He's fantastic. They were coaching us. And so every week there were 2 meetings, and you would go through the business analyst process. And it really opened my eyes, because that was where I realized how much of what I had been doing as a consultant was really the business analyst role and the implementation. And it gave me all of the nomenclature and what are the tools everybody's using. And because it was such a great learning experience, everybody was doing it, and we were all doing it differently. And so you get introduced to different programs like Jira or Canva or Elements Cloud for UPN notations and how to use them. And we've been watching, now that I've done 3 of them, I had an opportunity to do the Deloitte sprint, which went into it a little bit further, but it was with the Deloitte coaches. And Mallory and Tony, I believe, are at Slalom. And so you get insight into how the coaches work, how people are working currently in the industry in real world situations, and taking you through. First thing you're doing are personas, and then you create your user stories, and then you create your UPN process map, and then you create your user acceptance testing, and then you build out your dev work and implement what you said you were going to do. And so that's where really the admin part of it comes in. And at the end, you present your final presentation, you take them through a quick summary, you do a demo of your org, and you hope that it goes well. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And you get to submit that, and you get all kinds of feedback, and you get to work with a group of people you've never met before. And I've met so many people, and I keep in touch with them. We talk. I just had one that I finished. Jessica Berryhill was on my team, fantastic person to work with. And it turns out I'm relocating to very near where she is. And so we have an opportunity now not to just get to know each other online, but meet up in person. And that, I think, is just one of those things that keeps adding layers to this whole Clicked experience, where you keep meeting new people and like, oh yeah, I worked with so-and-so and it was awesome. And you're going to love working with them. And so that, I think, has really been helpful. So it gives you exposure to real world situations. It introduces you to all kinds of people, and you can hopefully learn how to translate that. Like, what do I know and how can I translate that now? And I'm taking everything that I've learned from these 3 sprints And I'm looking now, I'm in the process this week actually of looking at how am I presenting myself? Am I using the right nomenclature to put on my resume? And using all of that information, I just posted on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I just created one. I'd never had one before, by demo that I did about a week and a half ago. And so you can go see my video and see my little demo gremlin and what happened, but you can also hear the feedback. And so Clicked has really been an amazing, amazing opportunity, and it's free. It's something that anybody can go get involved in and apply for. And I would highly recommend it.
Right, right. It sounds very resourceful. Actually, I'm part of one of their sprints at the moment, doing the admin and business analyst sprint. And I totally agree with what you say. But how did it help you in your Salesforce career journey? Did it add a lot, or was it just a experience where you kind of went through a real life kind of scenario where you found solutions to a specific problem? What did it add to you specifically?
That's a couple of things. One of them is validation. I think I'm sure I am not the only person that suffers from imposter syndrome. And it really validates that, yes, you're doing okay. You're getting this, you've got it. Um, so it's a huge confidence boost. And how it's helped me, I think it's helping me reframe how I'm approaching my job search and how I am framing what I do and how I'm presenting that. And Click isn't necessarily specifically saying you should do this, this, and this on your resume, other than to say, here's how you can highlight what you're doing here on your LinkedIn profile. And it's very specific, but it really got me to thinking, how am I presenting everything else? And what do I need to work on in order to have a better opportunity to break into a Salesforce specific role instead of doing what I had been doing, which is operations and admin uh, for IT, but more of a broader sense. And so I think that it's helping I think it helps confidence level, helps the imposter syndrome, and it helps you reframe your past experience into the nomenclature that companies are looking for in a Salesforce hire.
Yeah, that's all good. So do you think experiences like Clicked add prominent value to one's Salesforce career?
I do. I think especially when you're transitioning or you're new to the ecosystem, it shows a couple of things. It shows that you're willing to learn and spend time working on a project that you're not getting paid for. You can do volunteer opportunities as well, but Click gives you an opportunity to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes in a setting that's not going to be detrimental to an organization that really needs help. And you can take what you learned there and translate it elsewhere. So I think in that sense, it really does help. It helps you understand what it is you're getting into as well, and help you make decisions. You know, is a business analyst role, even though I've done it, is that right for me or not? Is admin and getting into the really fine tuning of the program and designing a build, is that really what appeals to me more? And thinking about that. So I think it helps you figure out where you want to go. And I think that I hope that employers, when they're looking at it and recruiters are looking at it, like, hey, this person's really serious. They're spending a lot of time on this. They're going and looking for ways to improve.
Yeah.
So I think that I think that's good in that way. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree. It's actually like you mentioned, it is kind of shines a light to your path and then tells you, in which direction you should be headed, and then actually tells you what you should do, and then which steps you should take, and then kind of directs you in the right path. And what I like about Clicked as well, and it's been good so far as well. So, any final thoughts or maybe suggestions for people maybe who haven't done any Clicked experience before, and what would you suggest they do, or where should they start from?
I would say start with checking out their website. I believe it's click.com. Let me just double check that. Yeah, it's click.com. Sign up, view the programs. There's no limit that I'm aware of for the number of people that can sign up for an hour challenge. Just check it out. Pick something that you might not understand. There was one last week that I was super excited about, which was on flows. And I wish it was longer because it was so good. And at the end, we were getting such good information and watching somebody that's an architect build a flow, like, oh, well, that makes more sense. Why not do it that way? And I'm hoping they have more like that for sure. But check it out, sign up, see what you think. I mean, it's like anything else. You got to try it, see if you like it. I highly recommend it to anybody that's getting started for sure.
Mhm. Well, thank you very much, Nancy, for joining us today. We talked about what Collect is and how it will help you in your Salesforce career journey. So thank you so much, Nancy.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. So there you go, Salesforce Master audience. Another interview with my colleague Nancy actually from Salesforce Mentorship Circle, and she had a clicked experience as I'm having right now as well. We highly recommend it if you're just starting out on Salesforce, or just maybe trying to add more to your career journey. So enjoy that, and then we'll see you next time. Thank you.